Hello everyone, I am Nadia Shireen and I am the author and illustrator of Barbara Throws a Wobbler, and I am so excited that you have all been sharing your copies of Barbara Throws a Wobbler as part of the Poddy Joy Story programme, and you'll all be getting your very own bilingual copy of the book this summer. How awesome is that? Very, I think. Barbara Throws a Wobbler. Barbara was in a very bad mood. "I am not," she said. But she was. It had started in the morning because of a sock problem. And at lunchtime, there had been a strange pee. Then Barbara stepped on a crack, which she had been trying very hard not to do. Things were going from bad to worse. Her friends were frolicking in the park. "Hi, Barbara," said Martha. "Come and play," said Otto. But Barbara didn't feel like a frolic. Of course, Barbara had been in bad moods before. She'd had huffs, grumps, upsets and strops. But today was different. Today felt like 100 bad moods wrapped up in one. And when another terrible thing happened, Barbara threw a great big wobbler. And then suddenly the wobbler was actually there. It loomed over Barbara's head. "What's wrong with Barbara?" said Small Bob. "And what's that weird thing?" Nobody knew. The wobbler hovered in the air, gloopy and heavy, like an angry jelly. Are you okay?" asked Otto. But the wobbler didn't want to talk, so neither did Barbara. "Would you like a cuddle?" asked Martha. But the wobbler was not accepting cuddles, so neither was Barbara. Barbara didn't even want any of Small Bob's ice cream, which was really strange. The wobbler grew and grew and grew. Soon it was the only thing that Barbara could see or feel. She shook her fists and gave a great big yell, but the wobbler wasn't going anywhere. "Let me go," said Barbara. "Let me go," said the wobbler. "Rah!" she shouted. "Rah!" shouted the wobbler. "Stinky bumhead," shouted Barbara. "Stinky bumhead," shouted the wobbler. Barbara giggled. "Stop copying me," said Barbara. "I can't help it," it said. "I'm your wobbler. You made me." "I made you?" asked Barbara. "Yes," said the wobbler cheerfully. "You were really upset and angry and sad. So here I am." Barbara had a think. It had been quite a day. Then she thought some more and said, "Well, if I made you, can't I unmake you?" "Of course," said the wobbler. "You're in charge." So Barbara took a deep breath and started to squish the wobbler down. The wobbler got smaller and smaller and smaller until Barbara could hold it in her paw. "Goodbye, you strange little thing," she said. "Oh, don't worry," chirruped the wobbler. "I'll be back before you know it." And with a pop, it disappeared completely. Barbara saw that her friends were waiting for her. "Are you okay?" asked Martha. "I had a massive wobbler," said Barbara, "but now I feel much less wobbly." Barbara was now accepting cuddles and ice cream. Barbara went back to the park to frolic with her friends. Surely there wouldn't be any more wobblers today, would there? I don't know about you, but I can see quite a few wobblers on this page, ready to leap out. Now we have bad moods, a very useful guide. Figure 1, the sulk. A quiet mood that often appears after losing a game or being refused treats. Figure 2, the tizzy. Usually noticed around bedtime or when a precious item has been lost. Figure 3, the seethe. Angry but clever. Will quietly brew while thinking up rude names for people. Figure 4, the huff. When something is definitely not your fault, but everyone is saying that it's your fault. Figure 5, the grump. Very, very sad and gloomy. Not even a tickle under the armpit can cheer up a grump. Figure 6, the wobbler. If you've already forgotten about wobblers, please go back to the start of this book immediately. Thank you. Right, I am going to sketch a little Barbara for you. Because this is how I come up with all my characters, really, just by doodling around in a sketchbook. And with Barbara, I kind of thought it would be funny to do a cat who looked like she'd been forced into like quite a posh frock. Like, you know, when sometimes someone says, come on, we've got to go out to this posh party or this wedding, and they put you in an itchy top. It's not a good feeling, is it? Anyway, here I'm going to do 2 circles for her eyes and 2 big pupils in the middle, because Barbara, as you can probably guess, is not very happy. So I'm giving her a massive screaming mouth. Ah! Do you know what? I'll let you into a secret. When I'm drawing a character, I sometimes make the same face as them while I'm drawing them. So if I'm drawing someone with their mouth open, angry, I sometimes, if you were to look at me in my workroom, you'd see me doing this face. It kind of helps me figure out how to draw it. Because it's quite tricky drawing emotions. So Barbara's emotion here is very annoyed. And as you can see, I've just done a really rough sketch in pencil. I don't draw, all my drawings don't come out neatly at all. I do lots of rough drawings like this. Look, I'm going to do some noise lines coming out. I practice loads. I draw loads in pencil. I make lots of mistakes. It's all part of learning about how my character works, really. Now, one of the challenges with this book was, how do I draw a wobbler? What does a bad mood, what does a wobbler look like? And I thought, well, when people have wobblers, it feels really massive. It feels really huge and kind of angry and noisy. So I just drew this big, it looks a bit like a big pink jelly. Drew this huge kind of grumpy jelly behind her. And I thought, that's kind of what I think a wobbler might look like. And then, of course, I'm going to give the wobbler some eyes. So it might be fun for you. This is what a wobbler looks like. Or at least I've decided this is what a wobbler looks like. But you know what could be interesting is if you try to draw a different kind of emotion. So what do you think it would look like if you drew someone who was scared? Or if you drew someone who was really happy or nervous? Like, what would the actual emotion look like? What colour would it be? What shape would it be? Might be small, might be huge, like this wobbler. And let's take this right up to the line so it looks like the wobbler's behind Barbara. Anyway, it could be a fun little thing for you to try out if you like. Or you could draw any character you like with their mood over the top of their heads. So you could draw a happy puffin, a grumpy worm. I don't know, it's up to you. But that is how I draw Barbara and her wobbler. Make sure you do this with your drawing if you do one. Make sure you sign it. Good luck, everyone. Right, now some of you lovely lot have sent me some questions and I'm going to do my best to answer them. Loads of schools wrote in with questions. I'm so sorry if I don't mention your school, but I just want to say huge thank you to all of you. I've picked a few. So this question was actually asked by two schools, Machen Primary School and Betterson Roos Primary School. Hope I've said that properly. Sorry if I haven't. And your question, lovely people, was, have you ever thrown a wobbler? Well, yes, I guess I probably have thrown a couple of wobblers in my life. To be honest with you, I think I'm more of a huff person. When I get annoyed, I tend to just go really quiet and quite small and kind of grump around and don't speak to anyone. I don't really do screaming crazy wobblers anymore. I do know some people that do, and that's why I kind of wanted to write a book about them, because when you see someone who's having a wobbler, it's really hard to know what to do, and it's really hard to know how to calm them down. So that's kind of what I was trying to do with the book. Great question, thank you. The next question is from Garth Primary School. How did I become an author? Well, it was kind of a wonky journey like that. I didn't just go to school and then leave school and become an author. I'd had all sorts of different jobs. I've worked in factories, I've worked in cafes, I've worked in shops. I worked in magazines, making up magazines. I did that for about 10 years, working in offices, doing that. And then when I was about 30, which I know is crazily old, that's when I wrote my first book. And it was a picture book called, I might have it here in my pile. It was a picture book called Good Little Wolf. And I actually made it when, you know, you can go to school if you're a grown-up, you can go to college and do, you can learn about how to do different things when you're a grown-up. So I went to like a grown-ups course about how to make picture books. And that's when I made my first book. So quite late in life. But that's fine, I'm really happy. I'm so happy it's my job now, can't tell you. Thank you, Garth Primary School. Great question. Next question is from Kins Monkton School. How did you learn how to illustrate? Well, I guess it's kind of the same answer, really. Also, no one ever really taught me how to illustrate, because illustrate really is just a fancy word for drawing stories. So when you just pick up a pencil and get some paper and you draw a character, and maybe then you draw like something else happening to that character, or you draw that character doing something, you're an illustrator. That's what illustrating is. It's telling people a story or some information just by drawing, and you don't really need a fancy teacher or anything. You can just kind of do it yourself. A good way to learn is by copying other people. So I used to copy my favourite characters from comic books. So I'd copy, like, if there was this cat called Garfield, I would learn how to draw Garfield and copy him. And then I would like learn how to draw Snoopy. You must have heard of Snoopy. So that's my top tip if you want to learn how to illustrate. Start by copying other people's drawings from your favourite books and your favourite magazines. And you kind of learn, you know, what a good way to draw is, I guess. Just keep doing it. Now, I might say this wrong. I'm really sorry if I do. Svansandfried Primary School. Svansandfried? I think so. Where do you write your books and where do you get your ideas from? So I write my books in a room upstairs that I wish I could show you, but my Wi-Fi is really bad there. But it's a room at the top of my house, and you can hear, I live by the seaside, so you can hear the seagulls sometimes come and land on my roof and squawk very loudly. But I sit up there with a cup of tea and I draw and doodle and write books, and it's really nice. I like having my own room to work in, a bit of peace and quiet. And I get my ideas from everywhere, really. It doesn't have to be, sometimes I can just walk to the shops and I'll see a dog doing something funny, or I'll see, like, it'll be a windy day and I'll see someone's umbrella turn inside out, or just like funny little everyday things might just go into my head and stay there for ages. And then when I'm trying to write a book, these little memories will just pop up and come out in my work. So I just get ideas from looking around me, noticing stuff like what people are wearing, or listening to what they say, how they talk. That's one of the best tricks you can have if you want to write stories, is be really quietly nosy about everyone. And then you can use all that for your work. Christ the King Primary, did you enjoy writing in primary school? I really did. I really did. I loved it. It was always a treat whenever the homework was write a story. I remember once we were told to write a story and use up 2 pages of our exercise books. And I used up 16 pages because I was so excited about this story. And the teacher thought this was cool, and she read out my story at the end of the lesson, and everyone in my class was like, ooh. And I thought, that's good, because I was quite shy. So, you know, I didn't speak to many people. But then when I wrote that story, loads of kids were like, you're kind of cool, story girl. So, yeah, I loved it. Saltney Ferry Primary School. What was your favourite book in reception? My favourite book in reception was a picture book called Harry the Dirty Dog. I think you can still get it. It's a really cool book, and it's about this dog called Harry. He's a black and white dog, and he runs off for the day, gets covered in mud, and he comes back and his family don't recognise him. So he gets the little brush and kind of says, I need a bath, but in dog voice, which is ruh, 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 ruh. And they give him a bath, and it's Harry. So happy ending. I've just spoiled the ending for you. But I love the drawings in that book. They're just really friendly, and I just really remember it. I just really remember sitting there with this book in my lap and feeling very safe and happy. Trelawnyd School. Again, I hope I've said that properly. Trelawnyd. Are you going to write another book? Yes, I am. I have just finished. Some of you might know these books, Billy and the Beast, Billy and the Dragon, about Billy and her sidekick, Fat Cat. I've just written a 3rd Billy book called Billy and the Pirates, which I'm really excited about. And I also write these books, Grimwood, and there's a World Book Day Grimwood special out today. And I've just written, well, I'm writing now, as we speak, the 2nd Grimwood book. So hopefully that will be in the shops later this year. But well, for now, I think you've heard enough from me, haven't you? Rabbiting on. So I will say goodbye, and I really hope I see you soon. Happy reading. Bye.